Greece says a review of its steps it's taken so far to meet the bailout terms ended positively. It now looks likely it will get that fifth bailout tranche worth 12 billion euro, possibly additional funds on top of that. For analysis, we turn to Alex Yurchevsky, founder and managing partner with Recovery Partners. Alex, good to have you with us.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Not too bad. I was looking at the numbers. It looked like they're getting the cash, and then you flip to the last page, and there seems to be a but.
Well, the large print giveth and the fine print taketh away, but this whole thing is sort of a kabuki play. It's reaching a conclusion that no one felt was in any danger. I mean, they're going to get the money. They're not going to be pushed into default. That's the last thing the Europeans want. The question is whether this is a sustainable solution. And you know our views on this. I mean, we don't think it's politically or economically sustainable to be saddling the government with 350 billion euro debt, expecting they're going to pay it back in a seamless way, and that the Greek populace is going to go for this. I mean, already there's huge dissension within Greece. The package has to be put to a vote in the Greek parliament. The government only has a 6-seat majority in the parliament, and there are 16 politicians in the ruling party that said they don't agree with the package. So it's still in a bit of limbo here.
So is it expected that it'll be the politics more than anything else that will derail this situation?
It's politics that's driving the solution, and it's politics that's also going to derail it.
So what's the end game?
Well, it's hard to figure out, but clearly there has to be a plan B here. And the authorities from the get-go have tried to cram down a solution onto Greece that's pretty much a cookie-cutter IMF-type solution. The Greeks need a made-in-Greece solution, and the time remaining, I mean, there's still enough time to craft that type of a solution, but unless a made-in-Greece solution, something that's palatable to the Greek populace and politicians, comes into play, it doesn't look like this is going to be a sustainable solution for anybody.
But could anything be palatable to the Greek population? This is a nation that is accustomed to quite a few perks, and when you try to take those away, you've seen the protests in the streets.
Absolutely. I mean, what we need is a solution that doesn't appear to be forced down people's throats, and that's exactly what this thing is. It was forced in Portugal, it was forced in Ireland, it's being forced in Greece. The other thing about the Greeks is that they stand up for themselves. Leonidas, the 300, the Gates of Fire. I mean, these are very proud people, and they don't like things being crammed down their throat. So what we need is a solution that's palatable and that's communicated to the Greek population, to the Greek voters, in a way that is palatable by their own politicians.
It's been your assessment that we should have let them default a year ago.
Well, you're looking at a situation where more toxic debt is being piled onto toxic debt. So whereas you could have gotten away with a haircut of maybe 20% a year ago, because of the increase in the indebtedness of Greece, you're looking at much larger haircuts. And the vulnerability of the institutions holding that paper, has actually increased as a consequence of this solution, not decreased.
So how long do you think before that inevitable financial Darwinism takes place?
Well, it depends on what happens with the vote in Parliament. It depends on, as we get closer to this deadline, whether or not the Greeks are going to be making their milestone achievements in terms of the economic performance that the IMF, EU, and ECB, the Troika, have set up for them, as part of this program. Are they going to be making those hurdles? Who knows? If they don't make the hurdles, they'll have to go back into negotiation.
Well, you set aside the internal bickering within Athens. You've got Greece, Germany rather, you've got Finland. They've got their own problems with the packages. And
that's why the Germans and Finns last week put on the table this idea of a reprofiling, because the Finns have political problems. Unless all EU member states agree on the bailout, it doesn't go ahead. And the Finns now have a coalition partner, the True Finn Party, that said they're dead set against the bailouts. So they need political cover with their electorate. The Germans, the population is getting increasingly restive about having to bail out the Greeks. They're getting increasingly disenchanted with this whole process, and they're telling that to their government.
What does the EU look like post-Greece default?
Well, it's not clear that Greece will default. There's a very high risk of that, but clearly that would be a threat to the stability of the EMU, with Greece still in it. It might be you end up with a two-tier currency structure in Europe. You might end up with a scenario where some of these weaker economies are expunged from the currencies again? It's hard to say. And this is what I say, coming back to the fact, do these guys have a plan B? If this plan fails, what's their plan B?
Well, if the Greeks went back to the drachma, wouldn't that, for all intents and purposes, collapse the entire economy of that country and then take down other Eurozone members along with it?
Possibly. You'd certainly look at a big hit on the banking sector. You'd look probably at you'd be looking at a nationalization of the banks. You'd be looking at a massive haircut on all the debt.
Would you be looking at recession 2.0?
Oh, you'd be looking. Well, they're still in recession
Globally.
Well, the economy right now globally is looking pretty soft, even without the Greek default.
Right.
Certainly, it's something that might hit confidence very hard. But as far as Greece itself is concerned, they're still in recession right now. You know, the economy in the last quarter shrank 6.6. That's expected to shrink about 4 for the year. This is not a good situation.
Do you believe there's such a thing as a partial default?
Yeah.
I thought it was almost pregnant.
Well, yeah, you can kind of stop paying some people and continue paying other people. I mean, there's all kinds of schemes you can come up with.
But doesn't that just, accelerate the problem, broadly speaking?
Well, it depends on how that's viewed by your creditors.
How would it be viewed by you if you were holding the paper?
Well,
depending on which
I
part
wouldn't
of
be
that.
holding this paper. I wouldn't be holding this paper. And we've said this from the beginning. You don't invest in zombies. Not at this point. If you want to buy this paper, if we were looking at buying this paper, we do it after the blow up, after the meltdown, and look for the uptick.
Alex, great having you with us.
Thank you very much.
Alex Yashevsky, founder and managing partner with Recovery Partners.